Quantum biological approach, that's the new term that's being used for doctors like myself. That's kind of a clinical term that comes from the field of biophysics. Because we, in our medical world, look at the body as a chemistry, and chemistry is not a foundation of science. Chemistry is applied physics in a solution, just to make it a little bit more complicated. So here's noetic science. The word noetic comes from the Greek word noetikos, meaning inner wisdom, direct knowing, intuition, or an implicit understanding. Does that kind of say what my experience was? That's why I got interested in this, and why I did this. We all know it. We use common vernacular colloquialisms that say, the heart knows, the brain thinks, the gut feels. When we speak, we say, I think this or that. When we know something and we can't tell you how we know it, we just know it in our heart. Or we say we feel it in our gut. Well, one of the things my research stumbled on is we have brain tissue in our heart and in our gut. When you combine those things, it gets you on fire. Some people call it being kissed by the Holy Spirit. It just comes out. And you just have knowledge, it just pours out. That's happened to everybody on some scale or another. They got so passionate about saving the kid's life or something, and they just are able to do the right thing at the right time. They don't know who was controlling them. That's all three of those lined up together. And it's called the Trinity of interconnected neural tissue. And that comes out of the institute that I was from. It's very different than learning. It's very different than believing you know what you think you know. It's an inner, unshakable knowing with a capital K that we sometimes call insight or intuition or epiphany or revelation or something that you can't explain. And this is the model that they use for the paradigm shift on how we're going to make this transformation. And it starts with something that comes from your inner knowing. And you take that inner knowing and you explore it. You find a practice, this yoga practice, or this other technique that somebody's giving me, that works. You start applying that. And you can get off the boat at any one time, where you decide that you don't want to practice it, your environment doesn't fit, you can get off of it. But if you stay on, it starts to become about the collective. We're not doing this for ourselves. You're not doing your oils for yourself. This guy didn't do the coffee to make it a little bit healthier for himself, because he was in the we, not the I. So that starts happening. They start living a little bit more deeply. And then that leads to an enrichment of you, and then by extension into the collective. That's what we're doing. So this has meaning to me, and why I said thank you to her. Now, I will start by saying, Doug, can you adjust this so it fits on the screen? That I don't believe in a thyroid condition. I'm not part of that model that I'll explain a little bit later. But I want to acknowledge that I got to that conclusion by acknowledging first that there's women that have thyroid problems. I do know that. After I know that, I'm going to tell you it's everything but the thyroid. So is there anybody in here that has a thyroid problem? There's one. She's like, I don't know. She's pretty sure.
They tell me no.
They tell you no. Okay. I can tell you already, if you've got insomnia problems, you've got belly fat, you've got appetite, things that are sweet, you don't want them anymore, you've got a thyroid. But it's not just the thyroid, you've got an endocrine system function problem, because all of them work together. I'm going to get into the thyroid though, before I get into the actual cause and then the solution. Because everybody's looking for the cause, right? Well, you can't find the cause in the thyroid if it's not a thyroid condition, so that's where I start. And for those people who don't know, the thyroid hormones play multiple roles. It's mostly a metabolic hormone, having to do with your metabolism. We're going to talk about that. But a lot of the symptoms are completely unrelated, because the action that it has in the liver is going to be different than the action it has in the body, which is different than it has action what it has in the reproductive system. So it's going to be, the main thing is about controlling the carbohydrate, the fat, and the protein metabolism, but also the heart rate, the neurological development, cardiovascular development, renal, brain. Why? Because that's what hormones do. They control and coordinate all of the body. We have an estimated 1 in 5 women who have a thyroid problem and 1 in 10 men. So there does seem to be in the medical literature a disparity. That's not true either. Because men have different organs, they have different hormones, they have different ratios, it shows up differently. I'll show you in a second, but I wanted to mention that in 90% of the thyroid disease is low functioning. So low functioning thyroid, but you can have an overactive thyroid too. That's more rare. In 1985, Hashimoto's was only in Japan. It is now the #1 diagnosis, which is not unusual, of the thyroid. What happened since 1985? What it tells you is that it's not genetic. Everybody, any scientist reading this knows this is environmental. This is not a clue, this is proof. This is environmental. And half of the people that they do diagnose with it, they say, are not diagnosed. Half of the population that has thyroid is undiagnosed. Is that an epidemic? No, that's scary. An epidemic is if it goes up 20% in 10 years. This is great. So I do want to say though that all of the diseases are going up like that. We're having epidemics in miscarriages, epidemics in fatty liver, epidemics in heart disease, and they're getting younger and younger. So hopefully by not addressing the thyroid, I'll be able to answer that question as to why. Here's a PubMed, I just took a picture of it, because I wanted you to know I'm not just talking to women. So what I teach you today, you can be able to pass on and utilize it for all of your family, children, and the men too. So we now know that benign hyperplastic prostate is, first of all, if you're 50 years old, you're going to have it. They're getting younger and younger because I take medical histories on about 50 patients a day, all different every day. And I'm seeing it happen in 30-year-olds. They're on these medications for benign hypertrophy. And that's actually showing that it's caused by low functioning thyroid. So we're learning that it's not just women. The thyroid is still not, the thyroid gland is one of 9 in the endocrine system. And what's important about, the 2 things that are important about this, you see that they're located throughout the body, and that's because they control and coordinate the whole body. In fact, the pituitary gland is where they're secreted from, and the pituitary gland is called the master gland in the body. Not just the master gland in the pituitary, because, not in the endocrine, because the pituitary is one of the endocrine glands. So what I want to point out, besides the fact that they're located all in the body, there's 3 of them located in the brain. That's going to become important as I lay out a new hypothesis, a new way of looking at thyroid disease. It's controlling everything in the body. Your sleep, your sex, your behavior and mood, your growth, and your ability to extract energy from your environment, from metabolism. So the pituitary already told you the master gland, but the other master glands, 2 master glands. And when I was in school, because I was interested in mind body, I was very interested in the pineal gland. That's the 3rd one that's there. Pineal gland is related to that near-death experience, so I was super interested in that. And I became interested, as a result, in the hypothalamus and the pituitary. So I know a lot more than what I'm going to be able to share. So the reason the hypothalamus is called the master gland is because it sees everything and coordinates the neuroendocrine system. So that's your ANS, your autonomic nervous system. For people who don't know what that is, it means this is not my autonomic, this is by my voluntary control, I'm doing this, but not my heart rate, not my respiratory rate. That's all automatically done for me through the ANS, and the hypothalamus collects all of the signals from the ANS, all the signals from the hormones, and makes a decision on what to do by controlling the pituitary gland. So those are the 2 master glands in the body, and they're inseparable. for one thing, for once they didn't do something in there. Instead, it's not separable, because it's not separable. So this is what I want to point out about the hypothalamus. Here's a short list of some of the symptoms. High or low blood pressure, fluctuations in body temperature, weight gain or weight loss, increased or decreased appetite. You see any pattern here? Anybody recognize that those are the same patterns of thyroid problems? Cold or heat intolerance, weight gain or loss, depending on whether it's hyperactive or not. They're the same ones. Affecting your blood pressure, your cardiovascular, your memory. It's the dehydrations, the dry, flaky skin, urination problems with frequent urination. We see that in men with prostate stuff. That's all controlled by hormones. But they're the same. So, I just told you guys that have those symptoms, you've got a thyroid. But it's not necessarily the thyroid, but it is the thyroid. But it's not, but it is, but it's not. You're going to see why. Thyroid. So, before I go into the why, I really need to dispel the idea that anything else besides what I teach you today is going to help. All those doctors are going, one of them said, one of the people that corrected me said, well, you know, if you need to go to the doctor. Well, I'm not one of those people. If you need to go to the doctor, you're going to waste your time, money, energy, and you're probably going to get worse. Because if your thyroid is off, I guarantee you your adrenals off. And if your adrenals sick for the wrong reason, that thyroid medicine is contraindicated, and that doctor didn't do a adrenal panel. I guarantee you. So I'm not one of the ones that are going to advocate that. It's not that it won't give you some clues. If you have nowhere else to go, it can. I use diagnostics all the time. They come to me, I want to see the diagnostics just to see what the doctor's telling them mostly. But it can help narrow down a very vast field. But because the thyroid doesn't work in isolation, which I've already gone on for too long to explain, that's one reason why. But it's only one reason. The other reason, which you'll be able to see right away is a problem, is that the blood samples only evaluate what's in the blood. It doesn't evaluate the cell, or what's in the cell, or whether it's working in the cell. It's only, and the body doesn't care about that. The body only cares about that if what's in the blood is going to cause it a problem, and it has to maintain a certain homeostasis, and a narrow window won't allow it to stay in the blood. It's going to have to get extracted or stored. So the body doesn't care about your blood work. Another reason is because the hormone that's secreted by the thyroid is mostly inactive. Yeah, it's a little T3, but mostly T4, which has to be converted into by the tissue that it's going to work in, starting with the liver. So a lot of the T4 is converted in the liver. It's converted in the liver. Some of it is converted in the intestines. So what if you have a problem with the liver and the intestines? You have a problem with you have a problem with thyroid too. The other reason that I went into is probably more serious is if they do find a problem, they do put you on medication, you still don't feel good. And it can also have contraindications. Blood work can detect a low pituitary function. That can be caused by inflammation in the brain. In fact, that's what we're starting to think is actually going on in an indirect way. So, there's a problem. So you go out of the lab and you still have more of a problem with this. We need to identify the problem in the conversion of the thyroid hormone into T3. Is the problem in the production of the thyroid hormones itself? Is the problem in cell signaling, which is where most of the problems actually come from that? Is it in not having the raw materials? Because if one endocrine gland is working with all the other ones, these are all the hormones that it could possibly be. And it's all of them, so where's the problem? Problem can be anywhere that I just showed you, but in case I haven't convinced you that that's the wrong approach, I got more. A blood sample taken in the daytime might show normal level. Your thyroid hormone is secreted in the morning. So that's going to be when it's at its highest. Your blood work is taken sometimes during the day, sometimes in the morning. But if you're having a sudden drop off in the evening that's messing up all the other hormones, that's not going to be detected in your lab work. Did they consider your age? Changes? They're a good doctor, maybe. Probably not. Did you exercise before you went to get your lab work? Did you get around with your husband? You're gonna make a big difference in what those hormone levels are. Did you recently have an infection or a trauma? That's gonna make a difference. So even the data that they get back is skewed to all these other factors that can be going on. So here's the big one. Did you get any sleep the night before? A couple people mentioned that already. This is TSH. TSH, for anybody who's done thyroid lab work, knows that that's your thyroid stimulating hormone. That's what comes from the pituitary. And it causes you to make that hormone that the thyroid makes. So TSH, when it's very high, is a marker that is trying to turn on it could be a marker of a low thyroid. But look at this graph. This is somebody's TSH when they had one night of sleep deprivation. Look how high that is. So here's normal nocturnal sleep. Here's I didn't get any sleep last night. And no one is considering that. And that's the most important one. So people who do like shift work and they can sleep during the daytime or at night, and their schedule is irregular or worse, reversed, those people are going to have a very low TSH. That's never being considered, and I'm going to ask you today to consider that as one of the most important things. So here we get into nutrition a little bit. It's talking about all the different external factors that can be going on with you that can create a thyroid problem. Some of it is stress and trauma, the things we talk about, infections, or problems with the function of the liver, kidneys, or intestines. A lot of people have digestive problems. That's all true. The only one that I really wanted to point out here that's specific for people with thyroid issues, or even just endocrine problems in general, is selenium. Selenium is a trace mineral. We don't need much, but most of it is concentrated in the thyroid. Thyroid needs that to make its stuff. So it's an essential mineral. You're not going to get it. Your body's not going to make it like it makes most of the nutrients. You got that right? And the other one is iodine. And iodine's a problem because if you're drinking water with fluoride in it, fluoride bonds to the receptors that the iodine needs to connect to in order to make the thyroid. So fluoride is a huge problem for if you've got a thyroid issue or any hormonal issues, you have to get rid of water. That's a one-time expense. Otherwise, most of this will be lifestyle changes. But that's an expense that I urge you to make because it's also affecting everything else in the body. It is a very strong carcinogen, which means it's pulling self-signaling out of your body. So it's very important that you change that. I don't have water. I have reverse osmosis through my house, so I don't even need it in my shower. That's how I know much can answer. Of course, I had to make his favorite dinner. Here's another one in nutrition that's very important that you get, and take this home with you and take this to heart, because our cells are mainly fats, because the cell membrane is fat. And if you lay that out back to back, side to side, adjacent to one another, that's the largest cell surface we have in the body. And the cell membrane is in physics as a capacitor in the body, which means it's a battery storage. So when the cell needs to go through mitosis because it's regenerating, cells give out, they die over time, and they need to be regenerated, and a new healthy one needs to come. And we're not doing that. We're dying younger because of that and getting disease younger because of that. So it would be wise to address the field of hormonal problems with nutrition when it comes to taking out these non-biocompatible oils that are actually neurotoxic, but that's not the worst part. It's because they're not biochemically appropriate, so we can't use a proper fat. So what do you think would happen if we changed our cell membranes into plastic? Nothing would get in. I mean, that would be a horrible thing. And that's really the process that it's going to. That other one is the brain. The brain is 75% fat, so we need lots of fats. And they've demonized fats and turned us all into obesity. This is the reason why. So some of the good ones are coconut oil. That's my go-to. It's cheap. You can get it where it doesn't have a taste or a smell. And that's for normal cooking. But when you want high cooking, high temperature, then your ghee is good and your avocado oil is good too. That's not in here. But raw butter, tallow, tallow is meat, stuff they say don't do. Actually, that's one of the good ones. So if you can get it raw, unprocessed, cold pressed, then it's unadulterated, it is biocompatible, and your body will be able to utilize that. The minute you change your oil, your brain fog will go away. I took 4 tablespoons of coconut oil every day, and within I noticed it right away, that day, but within a few weeks, my husband said, "Oh my God, you're back. Now you can shut up." So the other problem, and I don't want to stay on nutrition for another second, is that is famine. Because our food is no longer food. The definition of food contains nutrients, carbohydrates, fats, minerals, whatever. Assimilated by the organs. In the red is the key word. To produce energy, stimulate growth, and maintain life. And this does not do that, therefore it doesn't fit the definition of food. Therefore, people who are eating this are in a state of famine. They're getting fatter, but they're in a state of famine. So that's a big deal. So those are the things that need to be changed in the diet, and then we're going to move on to something that's not diet at all. It is important, but it's just not enough. The thyroid should be considered more the canary in the coal mine that your metabolic system is sick. It's the first real indication that you're sick and that it's not going in a good direction. And you're going out and looking for help by the medical establishment and you're not getting it. That's just the first indication. It will lead to cancer. It will lead to all the other things. But the first indication is actually chronic fatigue. Because metabolism is about creating energy. So when your energy is low consistently and all the time, if they can't find a virus that's causing that, then, and viruses are self-limiting, it's chronic, getting worse, that's your metabolism, but. So this is mechanized medicine where they separate everything by parts. They have specialists. I'm talking to a patient, they're saying, "Oh no, I'm working with a thyroid specialist." He's real good, he's been a specialist for 40 years. "Oh, so you're telling me he knows absolutely nothing about the body?" Now, I'm not impressed. This is the system that got us into the problem that we're in. So we separate the body parts and we give them names like, brain, thyroid. And then when they're broken, we give that a name. A thyroid problem, Alzheimer's, rheumatoid, multiple sclerosis. I don't care what the doctor tells me. I'm in the restorative medicine business. And I don't care if you have rheumatoid or if you have multiple sclerosis. And they look up to every day. But they are both autoimmune system diseases. And I have to fix the I have to fix the immune system, and both the treatment protocols don't work for both of them. It's not linear. It can't be segregated like this. It's mechanized medicine, and it takes the human out of the picture. What it fails to do, which is the most important thing that the body does, is recognize that these body parts are integrated, and it's the system of how they integrate that keeps you well or not, that allows you to have energy or not. And that requires good communication through electrons between all parts of the body. The good news is that it's not linear. Because it's not linear, hand in hand in that, is that it has all these backup systems. Do something wrong here, okay, it's going to do something over there. It doesn't work linearly. There isn't cause and effect. There's law of probability. It's too complicated. There's 100,000 chemical reactions inside of a cell every second, every cell. And you can't wrap your head around a number like that. And you certainly can't take enough labs for that. So we've overcomplicated it. You go to a functional doctor, they think they're a step ahead of the medical doctors because they got disillusioned with the medical field and they became functional doctors. So they're going to take so many lab work and spend it enough. You're going to spend $10,000 to $20,000 in lab work. Your insurance isn't going to cover the functional doctor. The reason it's so complicated is because we're trying to keep it linear. When it doesn't work that way, and in the end, that's going to be really good news. So that's what this page is about. It's all about why it's not linear. But any living system is not linear. It doesn't work that way. And scientists know that. We deal with non-linear graphs all day long. But in the field of quantum biology, in my world, we don't just deal with non-linear. We deal with scalar. Scalar means that as I make one event, like he's talking about, you make one event, Krista gets here, something else is coming back. If I do something physical to your body, you're going to have a behavioral response. It's going to be emotionally based. And if I do it enough to you in the case of child abuse, you might have some very spiritual problems. So the point is that every one thing that I'm doing on a physical level is also happening scalarly on other levels. I'll give you a very good concrete example. When a friend of yours, a lot of yours goes on an extended vacation, you miss them. Well, in neurology, we like to say that when neurons fire together, they wire together. You've got these habits, you've got these pathways that just fire on automatic, and all of a sudden that's not there. So chemically speaking, it's matching that you miss them, it's misfiring, it's missing what it expects to see in there, chemically speaking. That's happening to you. If you lose someone to death because of death, they're not coming back. Now you've got a new emotional element on that. And it doesn't feel like missing anymore. It feels like a damn void. It feels like an abyss. Lose your dog, go find out. You don't see your dog every day, it's empty. Neurons don't know where to go. So that grief process is physical too. It's all happening scalar, it's happening at the same time from the same cause or series of causes to make an experience. So the point is we can't solve anything the way that we're doing it. For whatever little bit that it helps you, great, but we're never going to solve it that way. So here's our doctor looking at the thyroid. Can't get out of his box. Because when you focus too hard on something, the solution can evade you. If you're missing data, the data that I'm going to give you today, from your theory, your conclusions are going to be catastrophic if that missing data happen to be the most important one. You cannot solve the problem from the same level of thinking that created it. So back to basics. We're going to scratch all that for all the reasons that I told you. Roberta asked me to address why that's not a good idea. And I spent half of it. So I could do that because it's important. Now we're going to start with the quantum. We start with photosynthesis. Again, I'm interested in light. I'm interested in my body. It led me to say, what is this thing about photosynthesis? It's got to be important. Bottom line that you already know about photosynthesis is that the plants capture the energy of the sun. That's why this is the producer. It's capturing it. It's using all the parts of its ecosystem to do that. And it makes sugar for the consumer. The consumer can be a cricket. Who's that guy? Klaus? So we're going to eat crickets. We'll get photosynthesis energy from them too. So we got a reverse photosynthesis process that takes place once we consume the glucose. Now we go through our metabolism that's going to break down that sugar and turn it back into the energy. And that energy that it turns back into is the same energy, quantum speaking, as the sun. So we are solar powered in that way also, not just from the fact that we need the sun on our skin, but we're also taking in the sun, we're ingesting it, and we're also taking it into our eyes, which we'll see. So my question then is, have we lost our connection to the energy flow of our ecosystem? And if I took a census here to see who's suffering and what, it would be 100%, and that is a figure that should scare you a lot. That's just not possible unless we're losing our vital connection to our ecosystem. And we are. And it's not just the food. So the reason we shouldn't be looking at the thyroid is because the problem never was the thyroid, it was the mitochondria. So this is just a short list, but you see Hashimoto's in there. So I'm still talking about the thyroid, I promise. Just so you know what mitochondria is where the reverse photosynthesis takes place in every cell of our body. You probably saw a diagram in health in school, in high school, and they showed you a mitochondria. But there's actually hundreds of mitochondria in every single cell. Some of them thousands. In the brain, they're in thousands. Muscle tissue, they're in several hundreds. So they're making energy for every function in my body that my lips are moving. I'm using ATP. to do that. So the reason that the mitochondria is not working is because of a lack of proper cell signaling, and our bodies are not able to repair without that voltage. That's the essence of quantum biology. It's all about the voltage, and we're not getting it. We're not getting it from the food. We're not getting it from the sun. We're not getting it from our ecosystem because it's been contaminated. So remember when I told you that we're going to talk about the hypothalamus and why those symptoms were identical? Now is the time that we're going to do that. So by definition of quantum mechanics, we're going to do that the quantum mechanic way. Energy, every physicist knows this, energy is not created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. So energy is provided in the ecosystem automatically. I'm giving you $1,000, it's in your bank automatically. What you do with it, I don't know, it's there automatically. And every day you wake up, there's another $1,000. And that's the way our ecosystem was designed. You give everything that it needs. So biophysics is the study of the transformation of energy in living bodies. As a clinical approach, we call it quantum biology rather than biophysics. At its foundation, absolutely everything in reality is about the exchange of electrons. And only here can we finally say that we've addressed the cause. Because there's a lot of doctors marketing themselves, oh, the other doctor's not getting to the cause, but I'll get to the cause. And then you remember crazy Dr. Marin, oh yeah, we gotta get to the cause. You're not gonna get to the cause if you're not doing this. Don't get sold down the road. They're not. The quantum view recognizes that our hormones are controlled by our circadian rhythm. Guess what? We're talking about the hypothalamus. The morning light is what signals all of the chemical cascade that's going to happen in your body. All those those opiates that you get, the dopamines and the feel goods and all of those neuroendorphins. All of that is made in the brain by the morning sun. That's when you get it. So when dawn comes up and you see those pictures of people and you take vacation and you decide to look at dawn, you're getting that sun rays, that morning sun rays coming in and opening up all that brain chemical. As long as you weren't in a state of famine and you're eating the proper foods, it's very hard to do. That's almost impossible. In fact, it is. It's impossible to do it. So the morning light is what signals the brain to make all of the brain chemicals that signal the hypothalamus. The light signals the hypothalamus. You see, here I got a few diagrams. That's really all this is good for you. I'm going to explain the rest. And the hypothalamus then instructs the pituitary gland to release the thyroid hormone and everything else into the bloodstream where it's going to meet up with its target organ. That's why they tell you to take thyroid medication in the morning, because that's when the body needs it. So they know that. Cortisol is what's going to surge in the morning. That's going to set the path for your circadian rhythm. Every cell in the body is infused with innate intelligence. Dr. Jared and I know that all too well. Our entire profession is based on knowing that. That's why we help so many people. That's why I grew up with chiropractic, not medical doctors, because my family line is all holistic, from all the way to the original anti-vaxxers in Germany. So they never sold out. It's infused with its innate intelligence, and most people wouldn't argue with that. But a lot of people will say, we don't know what that innate intelligence is. And that's where I talk about we have to start using words with reference. Because we know where it comes from. But how it gets to you and in your body and in your cell to express itself and to know exactly what to do, when to do it, how much of it to do, is controlled through the light that's in our body. All of it is controlled by light. Your radio is not going to work if it's not plugged. And the musician is not being the radio. The information of the music is being carried through radio waves, which are part of the electromagnetic spectrum, not in the visible spectrum of light, but light. All of it is light. Everything boils down to it. And that's why you're never going to get to the cause till you get to that. Because it's all about how each cell is getting information by fluctuations of light that's controlled by the circadian rhythm that the hypothalamus is doing. But it's the pineal gland actually that controls the circadian rhythm because they connect too. So here you've got your suprachiasmatic nucleus, that light comes in, goes into the retina, goes down the optic nerve, and it goes to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and that's located in that hypothalamus. That's what that pictures of that. So depending on how much light is there, is the signal that tells the hypothalamus what to do. It's gauging the information that's coming to it. And all this brain activity, once the hypothalamus turns on the pituitary gland, here's some of the hormones, not all of them, that the pituitary gland is going to secrete. Somewhere in here is probably thyroid, stimulating hormone. Yeah, it is. Thyroid stimulating hormone, among others. All of them important, the electron gain of nerves. But it's not just that, see, because all of this happened simultaneously across the board to all the organs and to all the living beings on the earth and on the earth itself. Not linear. One event happens and an array of events happen. The crows start crowing at dawn. The birds decide that, okay, it's time to go look for more. And they do their part in the ecosystem. The blades of grass watch it in the morning. They're falling down, they're sleeping, like the rest of the world, and every animal sleeps. That's going to be important. Why? It's very important for our life. We talk about sleep. So you look, and as the morning sun comes up, you'll start seeing that the plants start getting plump, start standing up, right? And you get up in the morning and you're literally going from one state of consciousness that's all dealing, even on a hormonal level, with your inner world, and taking you out of that state of consciousness and bringing you into your outer world so you can meet the demands of flexibility. That's all it is. The process is governed by shutting down the melatonin, which is secreted by the pineal gland and active at night, keeping you asleep. It's secreted by the pineal gland, but it's not the only hormone. She talked about erasing trauma. She meant taking trauma out of your body. But to erase the trauma, you need these sleep hormones because they work on your inner world. What are those hormones doing? They're cleaning up the debris of the daily trauma and the emotional upsets so that you can greet the day with, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed without the weight of fear of tomorrow and the grievances of the week of yesterday. That's cleaned up for you every day. Every day there's a new sun. It's not working. Every day there's a new sun, it's a new day. It should start you on a clean table. That happens when we are in sync with our circadian rhythm, and it happens without you doing it. The body does that for you. Things like your emotional relief. And then there's a reciprocal relationship. So when melatonin is up, cortisol is low, that's when you're sleeping. And then melatonin gets shut off by a series of events, cortisol goes up, that's when you're awake. That is the basis of the sleep cycle for more hormones than I can count or need. And here it is again. I don't need to say it again. I need you, babe, for more than one reason. So the pineal gland, I just want to mention that the pineal gland is another eye. It functions as a light receiver exactly the same as your eye does inside your body. That's cool. So it's not just regulating awake and sleep. It's regulating temperature when you're sleeping. Body temperature goes down. That's important to what that's going to do in metabolic pathways. Your body should fluctuate. You shouldn't have a bunch of stuff on. You shouldn't have the heater on. You should allow your body to have the fluctuations that are handling the hormones and how much is going to be secreted. So going back to nature is going to be the answer to this when we get to the end of it. Function of the circadian rhythm. This is quoting this from the medical literature. Function of the circadian rhythm. Your sleep, your body temperature, your appetite. If you're not waking up, if you're not hungry in the morning, your hormones are off. Because that's not something you control, that's something your body controls for you to maintain homeostasis in your body. So your biological clock is maintained by these circadian rhythms. We do a lot of things to upset those circadian rhythms. They're not working right in our bodies. your weight gain and loss, weight gain, I want you to hear this. Weight gain and weight loss are not something that you were supposed to be managing. Your body does that. If your hormones are working correctly, you're following the circadian rhythm, you're gonna eat like a pig. And you're not gonna gain any weight. And you know people whose metabolism is like that, and hopefully it's not because their metabolism is too exciting. But the truth of the matter is, it's a vital thing. Being overweight actually causes a bunch of things to go wrong. And our bodies are constantly trying to make the adjustments. And that's done in appetite. You can't override that with willpower. You can't override your need to have air or water with the willpower. And you can't override your body's instructions to eat because it's telling you to eat, because it wants you to eat, even when you're overweight, because it's telling you the wrong instructions because it's got the wrong information in. And that's what our medical doctors are doing. They got the wrong information in and they're giving you the wrong information out. They're telling you not to eat salt. This is the one supplement I recommend. It's not, I don't care what salt it is, the better, there's somebody here that can better address that because they're into the salt business. But as long as it has all of its 80-something minerals in it, it's not processed. I don't know why they took minerals out of our salt. Actually, we had thyroid problems all over the place. They added iodine, but they took 80 of them out. Why? Why'd they do that? And then they add anti-aging stuff in it, which is fluoride-based. So yeah, that's trash. Throw that away too. Throw out your oils and throw out your salt and get the good salt, and don't be afraid of salt. That's why we give it to our livestock. We give them rock salts and they lick on that when they want to. Oh gosh, okay. All right, so these are the things that happen when you mess up your circadian rhythm. This is from the medical literature. We've got things like Alzheimer's disease, sleep problems, lymphomas, allergies, seizures, stomach, Crohn's, autism, PTSD, kidney failure, fatty liver disease. Are you kidding? Because you messed up your circadian rhythm? I'd be hard pressed to find somebody whose circadian rhythm is not dysfunctional. So here's a medical journal that says, oh, by the way, there's a ton of medical journals that are reporting this. I'm just giving you some that I just wanted you to see it's here. This is one that's showing the circadian clock regulates cell division. I don't know if you guys can tell by the word cell division how important that is. But you know, we would we're aging and our cells are giving up all the time. We're slipping off our cells, and we're creating new ones. And that involves cell division, and that's not happening because it's off. So the circadian rhythm now is implicated in cell division problems and cancer. And here's a whole bunch more. Here's one that's coming from the Nature Review. It's in the Endocrinology Medical Journal for some page. And there was this was just one page that I was looking at. There's so much. This is about circadian rhythm and endocrinology, which we're talking about. There's also this one here, regulation of food intake, which I started to talk about. The regulation of glucose metabolism. Right there. We got the stress, chronic stress. We were talking about that earlier, being a major endocrine disruptor. But that's because you chronically got cortisol. But if your circadian rhythm is messed up, your melatonin and cortisol rhythm, you've got high cortisol at night and low cortisol and low melatonin in the day, that's reversed. So you've got chronic exposure to cortisol. And what does it say about that? Long-term cortisol exposure. Becoming maladaptive, lead to metabolic syndrome. What are we talking about? Obesity, cancer, mental health, cardiovascular, susceptibility to infection, so your immune system. This is all circadian rhythm. Where's the problem? Problem thyroid? The problem he identified as sugar. And he wasn't wrong, he just wasn't complete. He lays out in that YouTube, that's a picture of YouTube thumbnail. Millions of people have seen this, thank God, because he implicates sugar. And he should implicate sugar because our food is processed with so much of it now. are saying that we are eating 150 to 175 pounds of sugar per year average. Are you finding that much? It's in your food. And on top of it, it's not real sugar, it's effortless corn syrup. It's not quantity compatible in our energy system, so it's really bad. So I saw a meme not very long ago, it was really cute, shared with Rebecca. Sugar in the baby's brain is ADHD, sugar in the adult's brain is Alzheimer's, sugar in the sleep is insomnia, sugar in the blood is diabetes, sugar in the system. But he does a really good job laying out the science and shows how the sugar, especially the fructose, turns into alcohol, damages the liver, damages everything else. He's not wrong about that, but it's not the sugar. It's the fact that our mitochondria is unable to process the sugar. So now, any sugar you eat. So now, I'm not saying don't take sugar. Don't take sugar, because your body can't handle it. It's not processing. Fix your mitochondria. Fix your mitochondria. When this happens and your blood sugar goes up, that's acidic. Sugar is almost battery acid in the body. It is really acidic. And you need to maintain a certain pH or your system will shut down. It's very strict about your pH. And some of you here deal with pH balance. So anywhere that blood glucose is chronically high, disease ensues. Glucose homeostasis is absolutely vital in the body. So the body will neutralize it wherever it's in. If it's in the mouth, we know it's associated with tooth. So yeah, it's going to cause, the sugar is going to cause cavities, you know that. But if it's in the brain, it's going to cause Alzheimer's. Now the brain, you don't know about calcium, right? But calcium is what the body will extract from the tissue because it's highly alkaline. Because it's highly alkaline, it doesn't like it in the blood. It maintains a very narrow window of what you can have in the blood. So it has to pull it out of the tissue. So if it pulls it out of the teeth, you've got cavities. Calcium is a crucial element in how cells in your brain communicate. That is your Alzheimer's. There's your connection to Alzheimer's. It's in the mitochondria, not in the sugar. But it's the body's way of having to deal with the sugar that couldn't get metabolized because the mitochondria was sick. We're getting a lot closer to the cause, especially when we talk about how that's regulated by the circadian rhythm. Now we're really getting close to the cause. Now we're getting to the innate intelligence of the body, and it's scrambled because the light signals are scrambled. The innate intelligence built in your body to keep you alive and well and growing is scrambled. Serious problem, and we're not addressing it. We're sleeping whenever we want to, and we're doing it with impunity. We're doing it with impunity. Like that's okay. Well, it's killing us. And the reason it's killing us now and wasn't killing us before is because now we have it contaminated. We have it contaminated with non-native EMFs, right? Screen time, blue light. You talked about blue light. I won't have time to talk about blue light today. So if it's depleted, it's also used in every muscle contraction, every muscle relaxation, every blood vessel dilation, every blood vessel contraction. So there's your spasms, your tetany when your calcium levels go down. Here's an article that I got out of Frontiers. It's a magazine for physiologists. And what they say here is that this is like so good. This is how much information you know. They collect the information, they analyze, and they bring a conclusion. And that's what this paper is about. The literature is suggesting, and there's an abundance of literature about what I'm talking about. It's suggesting crosstalk mechanisms between mitochondria and circadian clocks, gut microbiota, the immune system, and that it might even be the hub that supports the integrating activity of all these systems. And the evidence looks like that's what it is. So mitochondrial dysfunction is related to metabolic syndrome, neurological disease, cancer, cardiovascular, infectious diseases, inflammatory disorders. We all know is the underlines all disease processes. Alzheimer's is actually called type 3 diabetes. So we've already inserted that into the medical community finally on that one. Chronic fatigue. Oh, there's one thing, you gotta see this. The mitochondria uses oxygen in order to break down fat, carbohydrates, and proteins for it and turn it into the energy that we talk about. that oxygen comes in. The human body is a circuit of resistors and capacitors in real time. It operates exactly like a battery. It does anodes and cathodes. That's your anabolic metabolism and your catabolic metabolism. Anode cathode works the same. There's all these piezoelectric crystals in your body, your muscles, your blood is a piezoelectric. It's surrounded. You look at the molecular structure, you can see it's a crystalline structure that encases hemoglobin, carries it to the rest of the body. Well, the equivalent of blood in a plant is chlorophyll, and it's the very same molecule. It's also a crystalline structure. Why? What's the relationship between the sun and crystals? So the only difference between that molecule and blood is that the center of the molecule is magnesium instead of iron. So all Western diseases basically occur when the energetics of the cells in a given tissue are compromised by low voltage. Again, we go back to the sun. Here's something fun. My neurotic research background coming in, but did you know that the ancient chakra system, the chakras, are located in the enneagrams? So, that system says that these energy nodes, when they're aligned, they produce an alchemy in the body to enlighten. Are we going through an evolutionary ascension? If you stop walking the sun, maybe. Yeah. It says here about grounding, so I decided to highlight grounding because grounding is something we need to live too, and that's having our bare feet on bare earth, where the electrons of the earth, it's called a thyroid current. They're concentrated at the equator during the day, and then they move to the north and south pole at night. But that's the energy system of the earth, and we are in a covalent bond with the earth. So our waste is its nutrition, its waste is our nutrition. We're in a reciprocal relationship, just like trees are with oxygen and carbon dioxide. So as we stand on the earth, we're moving electrons and discharging the excess energies in our body. We're also accepting electrons from the earth that will resonate with the Schumann resonance that's within our bodies. That's being contaminated by the EMFs and all this green stuff that we're addicted to in our houses and what I just did this together. So I'm not in any judgment, I'm saying mitigate that. The most that you can. Here's this one is very important, that's why I put it here. There's an abundance in the medical literature, and I had to choose them. And I chose this one because this was a paper that was published, put out by the environmental scientific community, and it's an alert. It's a major alert that was sent out to all of the medical and public health journals. And what it says is that insufficient sun exposure as a public health threat indicates that it may be responsible for 300 deaths in America. And then the number's higher for Europeans. Why? Anybody guess? Almost 500,000 already? Because they don't have a single sun. It was also implicated throughout an analysis of all the literature in breast cancer, colorectal cancer, we've got a colon person here. That has most toxins in our body is located there. So that's real helpful because no program to reverse your health is going to be complete without a detox. So there's 3 problems that are very important. It needs detoxification, oxygenation, and hydration. If your doctor, your naturopath is not incorporating mega doses and mega techniques to deal with those issues, he's not going to get to the problem. You are going to be responsible for the circadian rhythm because he probably doesn't know about that. Why would he? He's not awake. It's happened to whatever. I'm not alone though. A lot of people have come into this through biophysics. So cardiovascular, Alzheimer's, basically sugar metabolism. We're talking about sugar metabolism when we talk about what it's implicated in. And they also showed that they scoured the literature regarding whether it was vitamin D or not, but D supplementation did not show significant difference. So it's not about the vitamin D, and they're actually saying that vitamin D might really just be a marker for how much sun you're getting, because we're finding out that all these diseases are implicated in vitamin D deficiencies as well. And some of that can be mitigated with supplementation when you're really super low. I believe in it to help mitigate you until you can build up your solar palace and adjust your lifestyle in such a way that you're in touch with more sun to your skin, and you're not disrupting your circadian rhythms. So can a fish live in the forest? Absolutely not. You cannot medicate that fish. You cannot give them enough supplements. You have to put that fish right back into its environment. And our environment is contaminated. Do we need sunlight? You don't need a doctor or a PhD to tell you. Do we need sunlight? The answer is yes or no. Do we need sunlight? Yes. That's why I asked you to bring your common sense to the table today. Yes, we need sunlight. Our sunlight is being replaced by blue light, because the only rays that are coming in through that window right now are blue lights. But it's quantum, so what's cool about that is you just crack it open a little bit, and you're going to get the full spectrum of sun that you need. And it's also being contaminated by non-native EMFs. We need air, yes or no? Yeah. Do we need it to be clean and free from chemtrails? Yeah, we do. So we also need it to ventilate our homes. We need it to be open at night so that we can have air, and so that air can be cold and it can match our body temperature, which is cold. And then when the sun comes in, you're going to get the real sun rays that come through. Try to sleep on a bed that faces the east so that the morning sun comes in, because the morning sun bandwidth lengths, the full spectrum is different in the morning than it is at night. And that red light, it's mostly red light in the morning, that red light is what needs to hit that retina that we talked about earlier with the hypothalamus. So we need exercise. Does our culture advocate getting enough exercise? We're sedentary at school from the time we're 5 years old, and we're sedentary now, sitting in this room. We're sedentary. We are designed to, our heart doesn't even pump our blood through our body without movement. Our heart depends, 20% depends, just to move the lymphatic system, which doesn't have a pump. It depends on the arc of the foot, that pump. And the pump that happens when you move muscles. Constantly, I did like this, I just contracted and relaxed a bunch of muscles. That's creating a pump that's allowing the blood to actually get to all muscle tissue, otherwise it wouldn't. So we're not designed to sit all day. We were designed to be outdoors 80% of the time. We're lucky, I'd say the average is probably 2%. If you work hard, you might be able to push back 5%, and even if you push it only 5%, it's at the right time in the morning, you will start to see a difference in your life. You'll start to see that the other techniques that you're using, your massage, your nutrition, your electrolyte, all the stuff that you're looking to mitigate your acid balance and your free radicals. Those are what's going to oxygenate your body. I recommend getting an ozone machine. There's also a product, MSMS, it's controversial, I like it. It oxygenates the body and it gets rid of pathogens. And if you've got enough damage, then you've got a thyroid or an endocrine system disruption, you've got decayed tissue, and that decayed tissue is going to be manifest with parasites, and it's going to be susceptible to virus and other pathogens. So the detox program should include an anti-pathogen. There's where your essential oils come. You can put the essential oil on the belly button. There's a network of arteries that come here. They will diffuse it into your blood.
Sorry, but we only have a room till 4 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock.
It's 4 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to run over though.
I'll just say one thing. What we didn't get to was the actual solution of the things that we're doing that's causing circadian dysrhythmia. So if there is another one, I'll do that.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.